Hello everyone, my name is Conrad Kalsick and I'm a member of the Housing Services team. Today I'm here to talk about room selection and all of the important dates, deadlines, and policies associated with room selection 2023. On the agenda for today, what's new with the process? Our process changes slightly every year, and even though it never drastically changes, those individual changes can have a big impact on students. So especially if you've gone through the process before, be sure to pay attention to what's new in the process this year. We'll go over the eligibility requirements for room selection 2023, what phases are involved, the important dates and deadlines. We'll go over the upperclassmen building options for the next year, and we'll do an overview of the application and roommate group process, and then I'll explain the resources available to you as you're looking to make an informed decision about your space. So what's new? Only current housing residents are eligible, so this means you can't pull someone into your roommate group who currently lives off campus. Though if they are interested in living on campus, they can join the waitlist, which will open at the same time as the housing application on February 15th. The open cancellation period has been eliminated. We really want to provide the best experience possible for our on-campus residents, and so we're asking students to choose whether or not they want to live on campus prior to submitting an application. However, like I said, anyone who wants to use campus housing as a backup plan can and should fill out a waitlist form. Those will be assigned after general room selection in order of timestamp. But we're confident we can house everybody who wants to live with us in the next academic year. Time slots will be randomly generated for all students who apply. So this means that class year isn't taken into account. Everyone who applies with us has the same opportunity as anyone else to get the space they want. General room selection is the only main phase of room selection. I'll talk about the other phases a little bit later, and there are some tandem processes, but most students, about 90 to 95%, will go through general room selection. Roommate groups play an important role this year. While this is an optional part of the process, many spaces are only accessible by filling the space with an appropriate sized roommate group that includes single rooms that are part of a suite or apartment. So pay close attention to where you can select based on your roommate size, and that will help you determine what are the best fits you. If you're opting for a single, please make sure your best bet is to get a roommate group because singles are not plentiful on campus. Fraternity and sorority housing has its own application process, so if you're interested in living in your chapter house, be talking to your leadership about what their process is. Every organization operates a little bit differently, but those assignments will be assigned prior to general room selection, so be sure to talk to your leadership as soon as possible. The newly renovated Fairfax and newly constructed Forbes Beeler apartments will be available, and that means we've ended our leases with Webster and Shady Oak, so they will not be available the next year. So who's eligible? Our current first year class, sophomores and juniors. Those are class 1, 2s, and 3s in our system. That might not mean much to you, but it does to us when we're looking at eligibility and what's in the system. So make sure you're checking SIO to make sure you know how you're officially classified. Students living on in-campus housing currently are eligible, who plan to enroll as full-time undergraduate students for the full 2023-2024 school year and are not scheduled to graduate prior to May 2024. So if you're not living in campus housing right now because you're off campus or have a leave of absence, you're not eligible to participate in room selection. However, like I said, you can apply for the housing waitlist. And if you're a current senior, but you're going to be here for a full 5th year of undergraduate study, you aren't automatically eligible for room selection, but you can email us at Room Assign and we can make you eligible once we verify that your graduation date is May 2024. So now we're going to talk about the phases of room selection. And like I mentioned, there are 2 main phases, one of them being fraternity and sorority housing. The policies vary for who can live in a chapter house based on the organization. So be talking with your leadership. That formal process will end February 22nd, which is just before general room selection applications are due. So if you don't end up living in your chapter house, you still have an opportunity to live on campus. General room selection is the main phase of room selection. This is for individuals selecting on their own or for roommate groups of 2 through 5. We do have some higher occupancy spaces, so if you have a roommate group that's a little bit larger, maybe 6 to 8, please be sure to let us know in room assign and be watching for a specialized process. We do have a couple of units that would fit that size group. Every student will be assigned a time slot for a specific day and time. Roommate groups can use the best time slot within the group. So be sure you're checking with your friends once time slots are out to see who has the best time, so you all have the best opportunity for the best spaces. Roommate group may determine the buildings you can select, and we'll go through that in detail a little bit later. We will have an extended selection, so on the last day of room selection, all rules will be removed, and so anyone can choose any space regardless of roommate group size. Our process is all online. Students self-select their own rooms based on what's available for their group at their time slot or during extended selection. But this is particularly important to pay attention to. Your roommate group leader places everyone's in the room and bed they will be assigned. Once you sign your housing application, you're authorizing that person to put you in a bed. So be sure you are communicating with all of your group members properly to ensure you have backup plans and you're all in agreement for what your expectations are should your first plan not work out. As I mentioned in the previous slide, your roommate group determines what you're able to select during regular time slots. For example, if you're interested in Margaret Morrison Apartments, you need a roommate group of 4 in order to be able to select it during regular time slots. Once extended selection starts, any remaining Margaret Morrison Apartments will become available to any resident who wishes to select it regardless of roommate size. During time slots, if you're selecting by yourself, you'll have a limited number of buildings and room types to select from. Keep in mind that single bedrooms are not widely available in the housing system, so we strongly encourage residents to select with at least one roommate. The full list of options by roommate group size is available on the room selection website under housing options. There are a few other ways that residents may be assigned to housing, and these are the specialized groups I talked about. Spirit House is an affinity living space for members of the Spirit organization. Talk to your organizational leadership, but at this point, their processes took place mainly in January, so you'll be wanting to talk in the future with them if that's something you're interested in future years. For students who wish to be a resident assistant or a community assistant, that's an application-based process through the Office of Residential Education, and your housing assignment is determined by ResEd. RA candidates would be notified of their offer of the position by February 10th, so anyone who unfortunately doesn't get the position would be able to form roommate groups prior to room selection. For students with medical accommodations, someone from room assignments will reach out to you directly about your accommodations, but those are assigned prior to general room selection. So you want to make sure that your information is up to date with the Office of Disability Resources if you've had any changes within the last 6 months to a year. Here are the important dates. February 15th, the application opens for all eligible students. February 24th, by noon is the deadline to submit applications and roommate groups for general room selection. February 24th by 5 p.m., general room selection time slots will be emailed to all students who submitted an application. And then February 27th through March 2nd is general room selection, with extended selection potentially March 2nd through the 3rd. The upperclassmen building options this year include 8 apartment options and 4 residence halls, and they're available here, and they reflect the new Fairfax and Forbes Beeler. On the housing website, we have a convenient PDF that anyone can download. That includes all of the upperclassmen building options as well as details about what buildings offer, including their room types, kitchens, bathroom style, air conditioning, and other amenities. We definitely recommend that all residents familiarize themselves with the building options. This document is a great resource. Keep in mind that singles are not very plentiful within the campus housing system, and most of our housing system consists of double or triple rooms, so we definitely encourage residents to select with a roommate group whenever possible. I want to take a moment to talk about the application steps that all residents who are applying need to complete. There are 4 main steps everyone must complete in order to receive an individual time slot. Then there's the additional step of forming a roommate group with the friends you want to live with. Finally, online room selection begins and is driven by either your individual time slot or the best time slot within your roommate group, where students self-select a room, suite, or apartment based on their group size. If you're a returning student, I would really recommend, if you're looking for a roommate group, that you update these lifestyle questions about when you go to bed or when you wake up, what temperature you like your room. The majority of our roommate conflicts aren't because students are unreasonable to live with. Most of the time, it's compatibility, especially with sleep schedule. So your habits may have changed since first year, and I would encourage you to double check that those options are the ones you want people to see if you are looking for a roommate group. The housing license agreement. All residents are required to sign their 2023-2024 housing contract in order to submit their application and receive a time slot. For residents who are under the age of 18, please don't procrastinate in submitting your application. Your parents will need, well, your parents or guardians will need to sign the form for you, and that takes a little bit of time. So if you're trying to complete your application at 11 a.m. on the 24th, you might not have enough time to complete it and have your guardian sign. So please be sure to apply with ample time for your parent or guardian to electronically sign your document. Here's the roommate groups page. Once residents have submitted their application, the roommate group page is optional, but also highly recommended, as I've said several times. Basically, one person creates the roommate group, and then they share the group name and password with their roommates who come in and, quote, join the group. There's also browsing and messaging options available. That's where I said you should update your lifestyle questions so people know what your habits are. If you don't have specific roommates in mind, you can use it to search for people you think might be compatible with you and message them. Once you've decided to be a roommate, then one person would set up the group and again share the group name and password with the other person or people involved. This is a simple preview of what it looks like when it's your time slot and your turn to select. All available buildings will be displayed, and then when you select a building, you'll be able to view the room number, room type, and availability information. You can then proceed with selecting your room and assigning yourself and your roommate if you have one. Keep an eye out for emails from your RA or CA about our upcoming in-hall sessions where a room selection assistant will come in and meet with the floor communities. Our room selection assistants are full of knowledge and eager to help you with your roommate scenarios. So be on the lookout for them in other locations. We'll do some in-house tabling in the individual buildings, and then they'll host the info sessions in the university center that are mentioned on the right. You'll also have the opportunity on February 7th and 8th to tour any rooms that you'd be interested in. Just stop by in the neighborhood commons for the building that you're interested in, and you'll be able to get a tour of one of the rooms. I do want to note that each room may vary slightly, and so while you might see a room in an open house or floor plans that it might not exactly reflect, but you can definitely get a good sense of the building and the space from those tours. Finally, some information resources. Everything you need to know is available on the room selection website. If you have a question you aren't able to find the answer to, you can always email us at roomassign@andrew.cmu.edu. Make sure if you hear something from a friend or peer that you verify it first, either from the website or by emailing us or talking to a room selection assistant. A lot of confusion and misinformation about room selection happens when students go off something that they were told by another student. Additionally, use the virtual tours that are available on the website to get a general sense of what a sample room within the different buildings look like. Although, as I said previously, keep in mind that this is just a representation of a room and does not represent every space within a particular building. But the floors and floor plans are also available on our community pages for students who want to see the exact layout of a particular room. And then, of course, the room assignments email address, which we encourage you to use if you have any questions. You're also welcome to attend any of our tabling events and chat with the room selection assistants. They'll be there through the application phase to help you with any difficulties you have as well. If during room selection itself you encounter any difficulties, be sure to call us at Housing Services so we can help you in the moment. Please don't wait and email us, as by the time we get to that, it's likely that space that you're looking at is gone. So if you encounter any difficulties at any point in the process, please contact us immediately. We would love to help you get things right the first time. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to you participating in Room Selection 2023, and we're looking forward to working with you as the year progresses.